Hello there, welcome to Bros.Gaming. My name is Brandon. I've always wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons. Playing D&D has been something that's always been lurking in the back of my mind, but I've never really had the courage or knowledge in how to get started. However, this year I've given myself a challenge to take on new experiences, and playing D&D was on top of that list. So join us as we venture into the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Before the end of last year, my knowledge of D&D came from movies and TV shows like E.T., Stranger Things, and well, the Dungeons & Dragons movie. However, a little game came along at the end of last year that made me dive headfirst into D&D. Baldur's Gate 3. Ethan and I have been really getting into Baldur's Gate 3, and we are having so much fun. Playing the game has been such an amazing experience, and it's really inspired me to actually dive deeper into Dungeons & Dragons. So I've been learning about Dungeons & Dragons through watching Critical Role, and I have never been more excited into starting a game. D&D is, in truth, something that's really in my wheelhouse. It's role-playing, it's fantasy, it's acting, it's gaming, and I just think it's time I fully embrace it. And just like learning to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, I decided to research what it takes to get into playing D&D. And it turns out getting into playing D&D is a lot harder than I thought. The difficulty of getting into Dungeons & Dragons is finding a dungeon master or a group who wants to include new players. It is very difficult for someone new to just jump in and play because you have to know someone. And so I researched a bit more and found that there's a bar in Melbourne that runs Dungeons & Dragons one-shot campaigns. If you don't know what a one-shot is, essentially it's like a short story that you can jump into with a character and get a taste of what Dungeons & Dragons is like. Fortress the Bard runs these one-shots every weekend, and it's ran in a way that new and old players can jump in and play at any time. And they've got game masters that run these sessions and character sheets already made up, so jumping in and playing is actually quite easy. Being me, I've already developed a few characters that I want to roleplay if I do ever get to join a campaign. Without telling you what they are in case it ever happens, I have a ranger, a warlock, and a bard. So my goal over the next few weeks is to try out these classes, come up with some characters on the fly, and see which one I enjoy the most. Ethan joined me for our very first session of Dungeons & Dragons. After supplying us with some character sheets, Ethan decided to be a warlock, so I decided to play a bard. This made a lot of sense to me in real life, considering I'm a bit of a performer with these vlogs, and I've done some film and some TV before, and I sometimes play music, but I found myself really nervous playing this game for the first time with a bunch of strangers. However, the group Ethan and I had joined, we really bounced well off each other, and we had an incredible one-shot. In this one-shot, I was a flamboyant half-elf named Barden. Barden and his group found themselves imprisoned on a volcanic planet and needed to escape their prison and the planet before the imminent eruption of a nearby volcano. Barden was able to befriend the local insectoid guards by communicating with them through the power of music and dance, which gave the rest of the group enough time to escape their prison cells and the prison. During the escape, Ethan's warlock found a wand that could cast a random magic spell when used, and this would come very handy later on in the one shot. Eventually, the group realized our best and most dangerous path to escape was hijacking a nearby nautiloid operated by mind flayers. Now, if you know D&D or roughly know what a mind flayer is, this is pretty much an impossible thing for us to be able to achieve. But through sheer luck and our group nearly being wiped out by a single mind flayer, Ethan used the wand he found and accidentally summoned an elephant, which trampled the mind flayer and saved the day. And that was our very first session of Dungeons & Dragons. We had so much fun and had a really good taste of what Dungeons & Dragons is like, and we also got to enjoy some good food and good drinks. But even better than that, we were able to make a group chat with the group that we met and we're trying to get a campaign off the ground, which is definitely the hardest thing in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, Ethan wasn't able to join me for the next 2 weeks, but I was able to rejoin the group for week 2. In week 2, I played a hypochondriac snow elf ranger named Caliber. In this one-shot, our group of adventurers was sent to a town to investigate a string of grisly murders which most likely seem to be werewolves. Through some keen investigation and being probably the most annoying group of adventurers ever, we were able to track down the killers and stop them. But if you ever decide to play this one-shot for yourself, if you come down to Fortress, I won't spoil who it was, but it was definitely a surprise to be sure. And I had a lot of fun being a ranger, investigating and tracking things, and I had a lot more moments of role-playing in this one-shot, and by this point I'm really feeling like I'm getting to my groove of the game mechanics, but also enjoying the role-play aspect of it. And so week 2, I had a lot of fun being a bard, I had a lot of fun being a ranger, and there's only one class left to try. In week 3, I wasn't able to play with the group or Ethan, so I was once again on my own and playing with strangers. So the backstory for my gnome warlock named Crone was that he is someone who is adventuring with a mercenary group in order to write a storybook for his little girl at home and earn some money. This mercenary group was tasked with investigating a small town who was suffering from a wolf problem that was affecting the livelihood of this small village. Whilst I didn't get to roleplay as much as I would like to in this one shot, I did have a really good feel for combat whilst fighting some incredibly hard creatures, and I had a lot of fun with it. All in all, after my first few weeks of Dungeons & Dragons, I am hooked. I had an amazing time meeting new people and discovering something new for Ethan and I to get into. I really enjoyed the classes I played as, and now I'm in a bit of a tough spot because I'm not sure which character I want to roleplay as when I eventually get to play a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I really enjoyed different facets of all these characters, whether it be the persuasive powers of a bard, the tracking and investigation of a ranger, or the combat prowess of a warlock. However, the biggest challenge Ethan and I are going to face is joining a campaign. And I will be vlogging and documenting it all here. If you're in Melbourne and are wanting to start a new campaign or are happy to take on some new adventures, let us know. Ethan and I are hungry for more Dungeons & Dragons. And if you have any thoughts or suggestions for new players like Ethan and I, make sure to let us know, because this is a brand new adventure that Ethan and I are starting, and we want to take you with us. But until the next vlog, we'll see you when we see you.